Hey everyone, today we're going to go through our combining like terms video. So if you want to go to that page in your notes, just like the other day, if you can print off those notes that I've posted to Schoology, awesome. If not, this is something that you should easily be able to get in just your notebook or a piece of notebook paper. But again, remember to keep good notes because you're going to be able to use that on your quiz and your test. All right, so today we're going to be going over combining like terms. This should be a bit familiar from stuff from last year. All right, if you want to go ahead, you can pause the video now so you can get the vocabulary down, these definitions. So first off, we've got a coefficient. Okay, coefficient is how you say that word. That's the number in front of a variable. So that means if we have something like 4x, our 4 is our coefficient. All right, it has to be in the same term. So be careful if you have something like 2x minus 3x squared. If I asked you what's the coefficient of this x squared term, you would want to tell me it's that negative 3. So as we're combining like terms, the easiest way to get tripped up is to forget about these negative signs. So always include the negative or the positive along with your coefficient. When we're talking about like terms, just like with distributive, we're really saying we need to multiply certain terms together. When we're talking about we have like terms that we want to combine, that means we're going to add those coefficients, right? It has to have the same variable and it's got to be raised to the same exponent. So right here, 4x plus 3x, well, we've got two of the same variable. It's being raised to the same exponent. We don't have an exponent. All right, so we're going to add together that 4 and the 3. Okay, so 4 plus 3 is 7x. Something that a lot of people like to do is they think, oh, I get to add the x's together, so they want to make it 7x squared. That's not what we're doing. We're only adding together those coefficients. So this is when you have to be careful with those negative signs. So let's say I had 3x squared minus 4x squared. We still have like terms. Okay, 3x squared and 4x squared, we've got the same variable and the same exponent, so we know they are like terms. So we need to think, okay, 3 and that negative 4, 3 minus 4, we've got a negative 1x squared, which we know is the same thing as just negative x squared. When we've got a 1 as a coefficient, we don't need to include it in our final answer. All right, but if it helps when you see a negative x, you can always include that little 1 in there just so you remember what that means. All right, in a simplified expression, that is what we're trying to do with all of these different problems. We're trying to simplify these expressions. So we want to get rid of any parentheses using that distributive property. Okay, and we want to combine any like terms. Okay, so here I would think, okay, I have parentheses. Let's distribute out the 2. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 1, negative 1. Okay, can't forget that. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And then I've got that plus 3 here on the end still. I only distribute to what I see in the parentheses. I would never distribute to this 3 here outside. Then I think, okay, what are my like terms? I only have 1 here with an x, but I have 2 of these different numbers. That negative 2 plus 3 I know is equal to 1. So my 2x stays the same. Plus 1, that would be my final answer. Here is my simplified expression. All right, so let's go into a couple more of these examples here. Okay, I can identify like terms. So let's go through a technique that I've seen a lot of students use to identify which are these like terms here in my expression. So what I like to do, since you normally don't have a bunch of different colors, a lot of students like to make different marks. So they say, okay, I've got an x squared. I'm going to draw a box around all my x squared terms. Okay, and you always want to include the signs with that so you don't get confused. Then, okay, let's see, I have a 3x term. Why don't I circle my x term? So I've got plus 3x and a negative x. Okay, remember, if it helps, you can draw that little 1 right there, because that's what that's saying, negative 1x. Then, very last thing, I've got a constant. That's what we call a number with no variable attached, is just a constant. Let's underline that. Okay, and don't forget that negative 3 that's attached. Don't just change that to 3. So then all of the same terms, those x squared that we've drawn that little box around, we can say, okay, well, x squared, you could think of that as 1x squared minus 7x squared. Well, 1 minus 7 is going to be negative 6. X squared, we don't change that x squared. That doesn't change into x to the 4th or anything like that. It stays the same. The only thing we're adding are those coefficients. Then I've got a 3x and a negative 1x. That's going to give me positive 2x. Positive 2x, obviously. And then that very last term, that constant, that's the only one we have, so it's not going to change. It's going to be negative 3. The easiest thing to do there would be to forget that that's a negative. Okay, so be careful with that. So here, let's go through another problem here. Identify our like terms and simplify. So let's do one here where we've got lots of fun negative signs. Let's do number 2. Let's circle our b terms. Let's got this negative 4b and negative 6b. And just one constant, that positive 9. So if I'm thinking, okay, negative 4b minus 6b, negative 4 minus 6, that's going to be negative 10b, and then positive 9. You want to think for a second, is there anything else I can do to simplify? All right, are there any other like terms in here? And for this one, no. All right, so you can go ahead and circle that final answer. Okay, see if you can go through and do these other problems here in the try. You can pause the video if you want to take the chance and try and combine some of these like terms. And I'll post these answers into Schoology if you do want to go ahead and check your work here on the notes. All right. Let's go ahead and skip along to, skip along to this example 3. Okay, so now we've got some like terms and we have grouping symbols, right? So it means by grouping symbols, it just means parentheses. When we see those parentheses, we know, okay, we need to distribute. All right, so over here on letter A, we have 6 minus 4 times this x minus 2. So we need to be very careful when we're distributing here. We're not just going to distribute a 4. We want to remember we're distributing a negative 4 here. So we're distributing negative 4 to x and negative 4 to this negative 2. All right, so our 6 is unchanged. We're not distributing anything to the 6. It's outside of the parentheses, so 6 is just going to stay the very same. Then we've got negative 4 times x is going to give us negative 4x, so we're going to say minus 4x. And then we've got negative 4 times negative 2. That's going to give us 2 negatives, is going to give us a positive 8. All right, so plus 8. You've always got to remember to put a positive or negative sign in between. All right, so 6 minus 4x plus 8. Let's think, do we have any like terms? And we do. We have 2 constants here, the 6 and the 8. Okay, the negative 4x is by itself. We normally like to have the variable term before the constant, so let's write negative 4x. And then 6 plus 8 is going to give us 14. Look again. Okay, I've got a variable term and then a constant, so no more like terms. And there's your final answer. All right, so go ahead, see if you can get these other problems. All right, some with grouping symbols, some without. And then I will post those answers to Schoology. If you have any questions on the assignment, make sure you get that one done as well. You can either, again, like yesterday, you can either print out that worksheet or you can go ahead and just do those problems on a sheet of notebook paper. Either one is fine with me. Just make sure you go ahead and submit that image to Schoology. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow.